Hi. This journal was written 8/11, the first one of that day, and the Mayan day was 2-star or rabbit. Oh, this one's challenging. Let's see. I forget, once I've written it, I truly forget it. When will we find that just being is enough? How much doing is required? What does it take for you to be content? Who is it who has discovered their own inner being? Why then do we remain lost in all the doing we see all around us? What is the lure in that? Where is the satisfaction? Who is it that looks at himself clearly? Who is it that looks? At what is she looking? Have we answered the who am I question yet? And if so, what's our answer? Is there anyone still here in 3D who truly knows? I expect that many of us have come a good way on our trek into this inner knowing. Many know already that we're not the body. Anyway, all it takes is an OBE, an out-of-body experience, to confirm it. You know beyond doubt that the fullness of you is not in the body. Just know. And for deeper evidence yet, we have reports of the near-death experience, the NDE. So, this much is clear, at least to the mind, we're not the body. Yet, mind knowledge won't suffice for our purposes. It's not good enough. For me, something is not truly known if it's only a mental knowing. I'm not the mind either. It must be deeper than that. And this knowledge can be had, even absent the conscious OBE or the NDE. All true knowing abides in the deep inner kingdom, what I call the kingdom of heart. All can find themselves there, on the within. This knowing that we are not the body is also supported by the knowledge of reincarnation, of multiple embodiments, which I call Am God, I Mens. Clearly, if we were the body, then we have a serious case of multiple personalities at a minimum. Most of us have had at least a snippet of some other life capture our attention for a moment, whether waking or even sleeping. In that moment, you know you are that or were. So we have this extra evidence. Again, though, the mental knowing of something, of anything, isn't enough. How deeply do you know that you are not the body? One test is to have lost all fear of death. The fear of the dying experience is another thing, but I mean fear of being dead, of death itself, not any difficulty or pain associated with bringing you into that state. For those who truly know it, the opposite is the case. The desire for the body to die so they can cross over back into the light. Is that you yet? Once we're free of identifying with the body, many fears drop away on their own. They just don't make sense anymore. We have a new reality. We simply know that no matter what, we cannot be harmed. No matter what happens to the body. We can't even be touched. Perhaps some of the martyrs knew this, taking their amazing strength and courage from it. Who knows? Actually, we'll all know once we cross. We know it now, we just don't have easy access to the knowing. All we need do is wonder upon it, and the answers come at the next level. Yet, meanwhile, here we are in 3D. 3D is an interesting place to be. We kick at the pricks, the seeming bindings or limitations of our state here. Most of this may well spring from our remembrance of our true origins and the freedom we enjoy there. Somehow we've let ourselves be convinced that when you're in 3D, that's the extent of it. Your full being, right here, right now. You're just a body. That's what many believe. I hope you're not one of them. It is not only conscious beliefs we're after, my friends. Most of your beliefs are stored safe out of conscious sight, in the subconscious aspect of mind. And they cannot be accessed merely on a whim. One must be more determined than that. Until we change those beliefs, we will continue to work at cross purposes, tripping the self up at every step. We think we want one thing, but our actions prove another thing is the case. We've all been there. As I've shared often enough, I find that taking on a brand new belief is a sure way to access at least some of our hidden beliefs, to get them to come out and play. Then, at the point where they enter our conscious awareness, when we see them, this is the choice point. This is when we have the ability to reject and eliminate the old beliefs. The new beliefs we take on are specific, though. They don't bring up all of the hidden beliefs, only those that are relevant, that are specific to the new belief. So it takes some attunement to discover just which topic or area of life needs our attention. Which one is at the base of what's been giving us trouble of one kind or another? Well, be in heart for that, where your attunement is at its best. I really can't stress enough how critically important beliefs are to each one of us. They literally create the reality we experience while we're here. They also prevent us from seeing anything that is outside of their purview. If it goes against your beliefs, chances are good it won't appear for you. Or if it does, that you'll ignore it or somehow wipe it away, shove it aside. It's those underlying beliefs that do that. If you knew you could create a new life for yourself by changing your beliefs, would you be interested? Are you adventurous enough to experiment with it? How game are you to give it a go? We have two things that are very much within our ability to control: our use of language and our beliefs, that can make massive changes in our lives. Those two things can. Who takes that seriously? Who sees the potential it offers? In other words, who is truly present here? Most of us aren't, you know. That's why most people are bored by an Eckhart Tolle presentation. He is so thoroughly present, so very still. Some people even walk out before the man begins talking. While he's attuning, they just get up and leave. Talk about being mind-driven or possessed. It's amazing. Well, are you able to be still, truly still, for a time? How about 10 or 20 seconds? Even that will make a difference in your life. The one who can be still for a whole 60 seconds has accomplished something precious. He's gotten more of rest in that 1 minute, too, than most of us get in several hours of recreation. He's gotten peace from the mind, a respite of real silence. Oh, how precious that quiet moment of time. It's so strange. Time isn't real, so they say. Certainly not in the way we conceive of it here. We're told that all time is just now, simultaneous. Not only are you living your whole entire life right now, but all the other ones too. The mental mind, the 3D mind, won't contain it. It just doesn't compute. Well, that's okay. Let it drive you inside anyway. That's the place you want to be for this, deep within. Go in there now. Take a peek, center and heart. Just place your attention carefully in the center of your chest. Do what you can to listen from there, to have all of your focus there, inside. Sometimes I would put a bright yellow smiley face in there, a round ball, and put great big ears on it to image what I was wanting, to be listening from within. And it can help. You'll find your own tricks. You're tricking the mind, you see, to get it to cooperate with your desire to be centered and still and quiet. That comes later, though. Just being within is enough for now. Just being focused on the inner chest. And you can practice this anytime. Going to or from work or the store, walking around the block is just fine. When you're not listening to something, you can put great big glasses on your internal smiley face to represent your desire to see from that level, there in the chest. Now that one's a bit trickier, since we're so very used to being focused entirely in the head. All it takes is determination, though. It can be done. But the listening part is easier somehow to transfer down there. Now, why do these things? Do they seem silly to you? Well, then don't do them, of course. If you have the true desire, the drive to link up with Source, with higher self, it'll be obvious how this could help, or you'll have a better idea maybe. And you'll desire to do anything at all that might give you that little assist, the little boost to put you over the edge and into your interior kingdom of heart. The beauty of this, too, is that no matter your religion or lack of it, heart is still the place to make this connection, to link up with the divine. It's quite non-denominational, suitable even for atheists. For this, it doesn't matter what your thoughts are about God or Source. As long as you can accept that you have a higher or inner self, it's enough. You can use it to link up with that. Maybe instead of something divine, you'll see it as something so super intelligent that's what makes it special instead. The mind is much like a little child, a rebellious one. It can't really be bossed around, not successfully. Nor can we make it just shut up. Oh, how we'd like to, of course, but it doesn't work. You've probably tried. I'd give up on the idea of forcing the mind into anything. Instead, what I go for is its cooperation. Can you see how that makes sense? Such exercises are to help the mind come on board with your inner desires until we have both the mental body and the emotional body or aspect of being on the same train. Life will be somewhat disjointed. Neither one of these is superior to the other, the mind or the emotions. Instead, both can be looked at as a team of horses we want to put in harness together. And we can. Like any pair of untrained horses, though, it'll take some work. The first bit of work, I find, is on our attitudes, such as giving up on the idea of using any force. Maybe that takes an attitude shift. Next, let's adopt an attitude of cooperation and companionship, both with the mental and emotional aspects of being. Hey, why not? Have you tried it before? If not, then you don't know how or if it'll work. Give it a go. I can share my experience with this, though at the time I was only consciously working with the mind. It wasn't until later that I realized that the emotional aspect of being was also involved. Anyway, it took some real concerted effort to be mindful. And perhaps some of you have already put some work into this. You'll know. It doesn't come easily, not at first. Well, most of the challenge, if we step back and look, comes from taming the mind, from simply training it to perform as we desire. We want to be present, to be mindful, not just present in body, but fully focused in the now moment, right here before us, completely here. When this is accomplished, you'll know it by the silence, the quiet mind. For me, it took a while. Nor am I saying my mind is continually quiet either. It is quiet often, I can say that. Okay, so after being very determined just to come front and center and be present in the moment before me, it began to happen more and more. After a time, I could gradually string more and more moments together of being conscious of just being right where I am. At first, and for a good while, the mind was truly rebellious, I admit. Mind found it boring just to be and to be still. It didn't want to cooperate. Being stubborn has its rewards, though. Mind and I eventually came together. Mind likes to feel good too, don't you know? Slowly, it began to notice that if it would only cooperate and come to center and be still for a bit, things would start to feel really good. The whole mind-body emotions complex enjoys being in heart, being present, capital P. They're sacred moments when it all comes together just right. There's even a physical sense that is very like pleasure. It feels good anyway, emanating generally from the chest, but it can spread out too. This whole thing ties into the Kundalini at some point, I think. So I'll give you my philosophy on that. I let it alone. I don't try to do anything at all to make the Kundalini awaken or rise or whatever. Somehow I just know that it has its own intelligence, and it's very natural. It knows what it's doing, don't you think? I do. Besides, most of us have heard at least some of the horror stories of people trying to force it along and it not turning out so hot. The way I see things, nature does know what she's doing. Just like I don't have to tell a cut to heal or my heart to beat, I don't have to boss the Kundalini goddess around. I may be wrong, of course, but it's my understanding that until the chakras, the energy centers, are all cleared of the bulk of the dark or misqualified energy that's around them, each one, then you don't want that energy to arise. As it does, it will ignite the dark energy that remains, and it won't be pleasant, whatever else it is. The biggest challenges are probably associated with the lower chakras too, and these are the first ones the energy touches on its way up. Clearing away all attachment to the things of this life helps with this. Attachments to things of 3D are stored largely below the waist. Boy, how did I get off onto all of this? Oh well, you never know where the journals will go. This is yet more evidence. What would delight my heart is to be able to convey, even to just one, how truly central to everything our beliefs are, how they truly create our reality. Once we begin to realize that, then it's easy to put in the work it takes to bring some changes about. Changes we desire. Don't be the one that gives up too quickly, though. This work will test you. Only the determined or the stubborn prevail. What will happen is that you'll stir up the misqualified energy first, the stuff that's just dying to be released. These are around the issues in your life that need to be dealt with. Some say it like this, that they are up for transmutation. In other words, these issues are what's holding you back. So, when the negative stuff comes up, whether in mind or emotions or situations in life, don't turn away, don't run away. Just stay put and watch. Just observe. If you're centered when you're watching, then you'll also get the inner guidance that will show you what's going on. I learned to keep looking to see the core of whatever it was, to look for the underlying cause. It may or will often be a chain of causes. You'll find one, and then as you're looking at that, yet another underlying cause will come up. Anytime you see what underlies something you're watching, some challenge or problem, go to the cause. Drop what you were watching and begin to watch its cause. And just keep following the daisy chain down as far as it goes. If and as you're centered while doing this work, you'll be amazed at what simply seeing these causes can do. In most cases, a really deep look will eradicate them. Yeah, that means that particular issue will be resolved. It'll dissolve. Sometimes it's something that didn't go very deep, so you'll just have to go one level down. But most things are multi-layered, so do persist. And don't be surprised when all hell breaks out in your life. That's just the dark energy being released, so stick to center. Hold your place in heart. The light of your heart will dissolve just about anything that comes up. Sometimes you'll require some extra help, and if you do, go for it. Heart will guide you into that too. Some things may need to be talked about with someone really close, someone who can understand. So do be careful with who you choose. Mostly silence is best around deep internal things, but not always. Use discretion, that's all. It's nothing to chit-chat about. That's not respecting the depth of what you're working with here, how central it is to you and your path. You're worth it, you see? Or do you see? Do you see how great is your ultimate worth to the earth? Do you recognize the divinity there where you stand? I do. Do you recognize, too, the very long route you've taken to arrive there where you are? It's the perfect place, you know. You are ideally suited to just that spot. The things that will come up for you are absolutely perfect. They are precisely what stands in your way, or they wouldn't be facing you. If you can trust that everything as it is just right, then you'll be making a big step along your way. Once we can relax into that, then we can more easily recognize the importance of what's coming up for us, how central it is to our now, and how ideal. Things come up in perfect order. It's really ideal, but we don't see this until we are open to it. It usually takes a certain amount of clearing out the belief garden first. So, eventually, what I found is this. You'll see your heart give real gratitude that a certain thing has come up. Your heart will be glad, even though to your mind it'll look like nothing so much as a problem. The secret is to ignore mind and stick to heart. And as you're faithful to this, eventually the mind will just get it. At a certain point, for me anyway, things just clicked for the mind. It had its own aha moment. You can't force this point to come any sooner than it will. Remember, the sequence of everything already is perfect. Nature knows what is best. Mind will give you holy hell for a good while, likely. So don't trust it. Get some distance from it, from believing you are the mind, from identifying with thought. You're not that, but you must know it to do this work, and not just mentally. You can see how silly a mental knowing that you are not mind is, can't you? It's like the mind negating itself. Mind knowing that you're not mind. It ain't happening. Except in a feint or a trick, mind will try to play on you. I'm serious about not trusting mind. This isn't the time for it. As soon as you do, it will trick you, almost guaranteed. Okay, so at some certain preordained, most likely, point, your mind will, well, it's not that it gives up, but it just sees the wisdom there in going along with you. It realizes that there is simply no way it can maintain the control, the stranglehold it had on your life up until now. At some point, it'll just let go, but not without one hell of a fight. What to do? Nothing. Just be alert to watch and observe a lot. Just keep going for the core, the underlying cause of the things that come up, whatever you see. It's not a battle either. Don't set yourself out to go against yourself in any way. This isn't that. Rather, this is you finally coming together after such a long time of being apart, in pieces, all separated out, as if that were real. This results in an eventual unification of our forces and the elimination of all the darkness that managed to tag along to get on board when we were otherwise occupied with mind. When our focus is outward driven, we're just not home. We're not here, not really present now. That's when the dark stuff catches a lift. When we're not looking, we're not home. Knock, knock. In this process, a lot of dark stuff will come up. I hope you know you have a dark side and that you're not a believer in the whole only light way of thinking. If you can't face and deal with your dark side, this won't work. That's just a way to keep the dark stuff hidden and still on board. If you don't want to see it, you won't. Remember, you're a creator, whatever else you also are. So this is to let all attachments go, my friends. To not even be attached to who and what you thought about self or pretty much anything else. What your attachments are will soon turn up. They'll show themselves. Chances are they've been trying for quite a while, but you were otherwise occupied. Remember, all that work you do in your belief garden will truly pay off. That's where the foundation to your whole entire reality lies, hidden away in the subconscious aspect of mind. But its action can be seen outside of there. The other thing you can do along the way is to begin to become very aware, very conscious of your use of language, words. Look for times when you say things that tie and bind you. If you haven't got something that you want, if you aren't yet something you want to be, then just tack the word yet into the sentence somewhere. Otherwise, you lock yourself out of what you desire. Do you see? It's like, I'm not rich yet. You know, I don't have a Mercedes yet. Make friends with yet. It softens it so it's not tying you down. I'd be very, very cautious of any use of the I am phrase. Those may be the two most powerful words in the language when strung together like that, I am. Be darn sure you want and like whatever you attach to that phrase. Don't let it be words like sick, crazy, angry, upset, hungry, sad. Those are the two most creative words in your vocabulary. What I'm saying is that it's time for all of us to become conscious of how we create and what. In these ways, you'll find yourself coming more and more to center, into heart, your core. You'll be more and more present. I'm going to put a link with this to a great Eckhart Tolle presentation and strongly suggest that you center before watching. It's a part of a long series of lectures that are available online, so if you enjoy it, there's more enjoyment ahead for you. My point in sharing it is twofold. First, if you're not centered, you'll quickly grow bored. And you can watch that happen as you self-observe, and that's important. Let any boredom you feel at any time, ever, be a call to return into heart. Only mind gets bored. Second, in this video, he talks about this thing of presence that I've mentioned, the kind with a capital P. He'll help make it real for you if you have ears to listen, eyes to see. Actually, of course, you do have them. It's just a matter of finding where you put them. Namaste.